thank you very much for coming today to Project Inspire and to tell us a bit about your job and everything that you do. So I'm sure it'll be great help.
You're welcome, thanks for inviting me.
Okay, maybe you could tell us a little bit about your job.
Sure, I work at a community farm in Salisbury called River Bourne Community Farm, and I have secondary age students who come for 1 day a week to courses to learn about the land, the environment, working with animals, conservation, bits of everything to do with working on the land.
Yeah. So the next question, which sort of filters in really nicely, is so how does your job allow you to either protect, promote or participate in the natural environment?
Well, participating particularly, I am outside with my students every day.
Yeah.
So in some area of the farm, be it we're helping to maintain the river and the riverbanks. Sometimes we get outside authorities come in and help us, who are maybe Wiltshire Wildlife or something like that will come in and work with the students as well. We have water meadows where the ditches need to be maintained. We've got an orchard that we have to look after. We're out in the fields. We've got a field called, it's higher level stewardship. We have a field that we maintain purely for wildlife, and it's got a wildflower area of it, and the students go and help look after that as well. So ground nesting birds.
Very important.
Very important, yeah.
So I'm presuming if you've got water meadows and meadows as well, and hedgerows and everything like that, that you look after, that it promotes quite a bit of biodiversity on your farm.
Sure, there's very strict rules on how you maintain hedgerows for wildlife, for birds, for small mammals. The same with the trees on the land, the edges of the fields we have to maintain in certain ways.
Okay.
So again, students all get involved in that.
Yeah, lovely. How would you describe a typical work day, which there probably isn't a typical work
Not
day
really.
if you're working with animals, in my experiences, but maybe you could try and tell us what you think a typical work day might be.
I'll try and tell you. At the moment, I'm getting in at 6 o'clock in the morning to feed a load of orphan piglets. That's not normal. That's not normal. It's very sweet, but it's not normal.
Yeah.
But I do tend to go in quite early, a couple of hours before my students arrive, prep for the day, make sure that there's the materials and equipment that we need is all there, and make sure that I've got everything that I'll need for the day. Students come in, get overalls, boots, gloves, all their equipment together, and then we just go out and do whatever needs doing on the farm that day.
Yes. So I was going to say, how many work hours would you feel that you might put in?
I'd love to say I did 35 hours a week like a normal human being.
Yeah.
But I guess on average it's probably 40, 45, maybe a bit more.
Okay. And if you're working with school kids, does that mean you're working as in school term time as opposed to 365?
Again, in an ideal world, my contract says that I work term time only.
That's something you'll learn about kids.
But whenever you're working with animals, it's I am called in the holidays, and I don't mind, and I help out with events and things there as well. So I am in the holidays.
Yeah. I mean, I'm presuming it's not a solitary profession because you're obviously educating children, so you're sort of like a teacher. So it's quite a interactive social job, I would think.
Oh, absolutely, and it's great because it's not just working with the students, but we have an awful lot of volunteers who work on the farm, so the students are working with them as well, which I think is great for them to have interaction with other adults as well. We have a few other employees on the farm. We have lots of people visiting the farm all the time. I mean, it's open to the public, so again, the students are fantastic for showing the public around the farm and giving them lots of information about it. So we try and involve them in everything if we can.
And what can I ask the question? What do you think would a starter salary be? So obviously, it's quite an unusual job because you're not like a commercial farm. You're like a community farm, and there aren't many community farms. But it's lovely for kids to know about it. So when you give a starter salary, obviously it's going to be a little...
Well, I would say a starter salary for something like I'm doing, which is coordinating all of the education on the farm, is around about £25,000 a year, bearing in mind that is prorated down from a higher salary because of the amount of holiday, theoretical 13 weeks holiday that you get.
Okay, could you maybe tell us what you enjoy most about your job, and if you can come up with a really inspiring example, that would be great.
I mean, I definitely love working with the young people, and it's always fantastic to see them do these courses, and then occasionally they'll turn up at the farm and come for a visit and say, oh, they've just finished their A-level course they've done land-based studies at an agricultural or college, and they've come back and they're going to go on to university or something. I love that. That's absolutely fantastic, because I know that it started on our farm and it started with me. That's fantastic. Another little tiny thing that we did was we hatched some guinea fowl chicks, and 2 of them had this weird thing that I'd never even heard of. I had to literally look it up on the internet, where their legs were just going out at right angles, and it's called splay leg. It's a thing. Oh, I didn't know about it. Go on the internet, look it up, and I found out a way of fixing it using literally sticking plasters. You bandage their legs together with a little splint, and literally a week later it falls off and they're completely fine.
Maybe you could just tell us what skills or personality traits you think would suit your job.
Well, you'd absolutely have to like being outside. If you're an inside, don't like getting wet kind of person, it's definitely not the job for you, because it's all year round, all weathers, outside. I mean, not just the working with animals, just doing anything around the farm. Fences need fixing, hedgerows need trimming all year round. It's not something that just happens in the summer. So you'd need to be working outside. I think I need to have a degree of patience. Working with young people is not always easy. It's not for everyone. Some students don't like it all the time.
Yeah.
But patience. You'd have to be pretty fit, I think. There's a lot of lifting.
Yeah.
A lot of lifting, a lot of using tools.
Then we're going to go to your GCSE choices, and whether they were important for you taking this job or not. Or if they weren't, maybe you could suggest ones that would be important.
I mean, I didn't know I was going to end up doing this job when I did my GCSEs. However, I did end up with English, maths, biology, amongst others, and I think those are always important. I think biology is useful if you're working with animals. I think geography would have been a really useful one for me, but I didn't do geography at the time. I wish I had. That would have been useful.
That's a useful tip then. So probably biology and geography.
And English and maths, I think.
What A-level choices did you take? Were they important for this job, or could you recommend A-level choices that people might consider taking for this job?
Okay, well, my A-levels I didn't do very much with A-levels, and I didn't go to university at the time. But I think you can do A-level equivalent qualifications in land-based studies, animal care, the environment, not necessarily in school, but in sixth form colleges or agricultural colleges. And I think if you were looking to get into that would be my recommended route, would be to do a specific environmental / land-based qualification at A-level equivalent, so level 3.
So they are quite specialised, aren't they, really?
Yeah. But they're really good. They're really good qualifications to have, and then that gives you a beautiful lead into degree level if that's where you wanted to go. I ended up choosing to do an open university degree when I was 40. Makes it a bit harder, but it's still good when you do it. Still good when you do it.
Yeah.
I was working part-time as a teaching assistant and sort of a tutor in school. And also doing an open university degree part-time, and if you do it part-time it takes 6 years, so it's a commitment and it's gruelling, but it's fantastic once you finish. And this job just came up. It was a bit of a fluke. It came up. I did this for 2 days a week on top of my other job, and then after a year the farm liked what I did, so they offered it to me full-time. But my degree was in technology and environmental studies, but you could come into my specific job as in teaching in the environment or environmental studies as a teaching qualification, or do a land-based studies type, animal care type environmental degree specifically.
So there are several routes that you could take, and there's definitely not one route, but your route was, technology and environmental degree. Again, a bit later in life, but not that matters. Or I wonder if the teaching, would they have taken on somebody just specifically a teaching degree? Because what you do is very specific, isn't it?
It is. I think, actually, when I initially went for the job, teachers did apply for it, and I was not a qualified teacher, but my degree was so helpful to the actual job that I was doing, and I think they just liked me, I think, and but I got it over qualified teachers.
So that sort of speaks volumes, really, that probably the teaching is probably not as helpful as actually understanding what you're teaching about.
No, that's right. I think I had a love of animals. I think that must have come over in my interview. A love of the environment. My degree, having a very environmental studies bias, definitely helped.
Okay, so, there we go. Yeah. All right. Did you do any jobs to help you specifically for this that funneled you into this area?
Not really. I think the school side of it helped. I think that in that respect, I think it was a combination of my qualifications and the fact that I had some teaching experience.
Okay.
But I think it was the enthusiasm more than anything initially that got me in there. Thank God. I've been there ever since, 7 years.
Lovely. We obviously suited for the job then, aren't you?
Hopefully.
All right, Sage, I just thank you so much for coming today and just telling us all about your job and how you got there, and I hope it offers some level of inspiration to kids out there, and just to also know that there's a job like this out there.
Yeah, there are, and I think there are lots of students and young people who would like to work outside, and it's a matter of trying to find out those courses in your area, particularly maybe talk to your school and say, is there anyone locally who's offering these kind of courses for me to do that maybe one day a week? Yeah. Because they are out there.
Yeah. It's just looking.
Just looking.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
All right.